his recreations to dramatize the events. Ronald Lardio and Michael Nappy were the best of friends. They worked together, laughed together, and died together.
This case is probably one of the most grisly cases Syracuse has ever seen.
Who is this brutal sledgehammer killer? There's a $10,000 reward to anyone who answers that question. James Cornutt and Judy Mason were a pair of smooth-talking con artists who stole millions from their closest friends.
So as a result, I had to file bankruptcy in August 1986.
But now, thanks to an alert missing reward viewer, their 5-year life on the run has ended. Also, Robert Haig is crazy about meteorites.
This is my baby.
He's already paid one missing reward viewer $200,000 for a single meteorite, and he'll still pay you up to $100,000 for a stone from space that may be sitting in your backyard. Rewards totaling $110,000 are being offered on this edition of Missing Reward.
Murder, by any means, is inherently brutal. But two men being beaten to death with repeated blows from a sledgehammer is a crime that almost defies comprehension. The grisly aftermath of that act is what greeted Syracuse police when they arrived at a local garage known as Big Al's. They found two men dead, and that morning began a frustrating search for the person or persons responsible for the killing of Michael Nappy and Ronald Lardio.
This case is probably one of the most grisly cases Syracuse has ever seen.
There was huge amounts of blood throughout the garage.
It's tough to deal with it. You cry every day. You cry every day. I pick up that morning paper every morning to see if there's something in there.
Ronald Lardio was 36 years old. He owned his own garage and had named it Big Al's in honor of his father.
He was one of the greatest in the country. The best sons you could ever think of. Happy-go-lucky, help anybody.
Ron was into computers and could fix any kind of computer or hook up any type of computer. And Michael used to go over and play the computers with him, and Michael just looked up to Ron.
Michael Nappy was a 43-year-old construction foreman. At the time of his death, he had been married to Roberta for only 5 months.
Michael loved people. He didn't care what their status in life was. It made no difference to him. He was always one that if there was a problem, he felt somehow maybe he could help, he could fix it.
Michael and Ronald had been close for 15 years. Ironically, it was Michael, the older of the two, who looked up to Ronald. He made it a point to often drop by and visit his friend. It was during one of those visits that the two men met their deaths. February 12, 1991 began like all the others at the garage. At 10 a.m., Ronald opened for business. Michael's Jeep had a defective heater, so later in the day, he stopped by the garage to get it fixed.
About 4 o'clock, he called me and told me that the whole heater had to be replaced, and they were in the process of replacing the heater, and for me to go straight home because we had some work being done in the home, and the electrician had to be paid.
Later in the afternoon, Patrick Ferrone, a friend of the two men, dropped by the garage to check a used car that he was interested in buying.
Just before I left, Ron had asked me if I'd wanted to keep the car to test drive it myself for a little while and return a little bit later that evening.
Patrick decided not to take the car, a decision that may have saved his life.
After all of this happened, I realized that if I had taken the car for another test drive, I could have probably come in on the middle of it. Still very unnerving when I think about it.
After Patrick left, the two men went back to work on the heater. Sometime between 5:30 and 6:15, they apparently had two visitors.
I tried the garage first to see if he had forgotten the time or lost track of time, and I didn't get any answer, or it was busy. So I tried a handheld phone that I knew that Ron always had with him, and there was no answer. So there I knew something was wrong.
At approximately 6:15, the bodies were discovered. Police were immediately summoned and their investigation began.
The total area was canvassed, meaning that we spoke with anybody that was in the area during the time of the incident.
At 9:45 p.m. in a nearby parking lot, Michael's Jeep was discovered. It had apparently been stolen from the garage. No suspicious fingerprints were found inside the vehicle, and although robbery appeared to be the motive for the murders, no tangible clues as to the killer's identity were uncovered.
The police have always been pretty honest with me, and I think in this case they've consistently said they have no suspects. They really don't even have a motive. I believe that that's the case in this.
3 months went by with no leads, until June 17th, 1991.
We received a phone call from a young lady who stated that a friend of hers and her children were out on an afternoon picnic on Onondaga Lake here outside the city, at which time they discovered some property, and after looking over the wallets and credit cards, they saw the name of Ronald Lardio. It then clicked to them that that name was involved in the homicide on West Street, at which time the police were notified, and we collected the evidence.
Unfortunately, the contents of the wallet were so deteriorated that once again no clues were revealed. But the investigation will continue.
At least 1,000 interviews were done, and a lot of those people were re-interviewed several times. At this point in the investigation, interviews start all over again. We go back over the entire investigation and re-interview as many of those people again as we can.
I want to do anything that can help. Anything. If there's a 1 in a million chance, I want to do it. I won't rest until this case is solved. I will not rest. I go to the cemetery every day. And I vow I won't rest until justice is done so their souls can rest in peace.
I just don't have anybody to be angry at right now. But there will be a day that I will have a name and a face to be angry at.
If anyone watching has any information that could lead to the apprehension of the killer, please call our special 900 number. Remember, all calls will be kept confidential.
If you have information about any of our stories, please call our 24-hour hotline, 1-900-860-0860. The cost is $2 for the first minute and $1 for each additional minute. When we come back, the dramatic story of the capture of a fugitive couple who managed to get away with millions until they ran into a missing reward viewer.